We're
Okay, it is 6 p.m. Let's call this meeting to order. The flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
I would like to make one.
Okay.
I'd like to add a nomination for the OSBA Board of Directors for our region. Region 10, is that correct?
Yes. 5D. Any other amendments?
I have none. As always.
All right, hearing no others, we will go ahead and approve the agenda with that modification. And we'll head straight into our consent agenda this evening.
We have a minutes correction needed. Item 5A, there was a vote. I went back to make sure that my notes were correct. It was a motion by Russ, seconded by Soren, 5-0. Unanimous vote.
That for that community resilience
Yeah.
one.
Leave it to Jamie to always pick up the things in the minutes, man. You are great at that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm always like, I read the minutes. I can vote on them. Like, I guess I don't-
my spelling and grammar check.
Yeah,
They're not on the minutes.
is the content check, right?
All right, so for the consent agenda, do we have a motion to approve with the amendment?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the motion amendment, with the amendment.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right. Laura, vote.
George,
Yes.
Russ,
Yes,
yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
Do we have any patron comments this evening? All right, then we will jump straight into reports and we'll kick off with the superintendent report.
Okay, August report, facilities, stage flooring color has been chosen and it was reported that we wanted to go away from the blue. So we have a nice neutral gray that will match all of the new construction. Look, a nice clean neutral palette to build on. Inevitable delays have presented. The team's working diligently, but as we open up this new, or the old building, there's new projects that have to develop. And I know that Chris will be presenting that soon. But again, I want to thank Chris and Nancy for all their guidance, their continued support and leadership, because this is a huge project and they've made it pretty easy to jump into and follow. Human resources really working on finishing up calendars, contracts, getting the new year started, all the OEBB benefits, getting our staff taken care of as we start the new year. State reporting, that's just an ongoing beast that we get to do. So getting those Q1 and last year's annual reporting done. Facilities and maintenance, the students are doing a great job with all the cleanup. I'm sure you saw the flower beds and things as you walk in. They're patiently or maybe impatiently waiting to get inside and start cleanup, but we're not there yet. And the football field is continuing to grow with hopes of some home games in September. And I believe that our athletic director will be touching on that. Schedules and systems are in place. Handbooks have been updated to reflect some new guidance. Staff in service is set for next week. We're going to be doing that here. We're also looking at using the public library as a space to be a little bit more comfortable for everybody. A couple things I'd like to focus on. We are bringing in the sexual abuse prevention training, which fits with Erin's law. We're required to do that 4 times a year. Mackenzie Nix from PACE is phenomenal. I've watched her presentation a few times, so that's going to be great for our staff. Student supervision training with experts from PACE, and then we have Betsy Brooks coming in to do all the med training and update everyone on their CPR first aid that needs renewed. That's all going to be next Wednesday. Couple of the big items that we're going to focus on in instruction and RTI. Tim Pearson, our instructional coach, shares Ed Week publications with me all the time. And there were 2 quotes from the last article he sent that I think just really hit home, and I want to share them in public and with you. reach all students by differentiating instruction. We have an entire unit we're going to be focusing on with differentiation for our students, K-12. And then the other quote is facilitate learning instead of delivering instruction. And that's a huge focus that I know is aligned in my goals. Both of these hit goals 2, 3, and 4, goals of many of our administrators and our teachers. So I'm excited about that. We also have a big September PD. We're hosting Bowman Consulting out of North Carolina. Rick and Doris are both experts in the field of special education and also the science of trauma on the brain and what that does for a student going through their instructional journey or their learning journey. And so they're coming here, and we're also going to open our doors to some other districts around, doing a joint training here. Couple learning activities. COSA Summer Conference was great. It was all on AI, and there's so much that I have to learn. But they brought forward a bunch of tools, and I think it's really going to help with the differentiation and all of those that take so much time for the instructors, and using that as a tool to really leverage and almost as an assistant in the classroom in developing tools for the students. And then attended with Soren and Russ the OSBA conference this last weekend. Excellent. I just emailed you guys to the huge booklet of legislative updates. Sorry, like an hour ago, but you have them in case you didn't receive them. Lots of great new bills, which come with some accountability and also some tools for us here at the school. Community engagement, continuing to just flood the channels with communication, probably too much. But also planning our next community visit at the Alcee Plaza. We're going to do an ice cream social, and I want to do 4 o'clock. I'm hoping to hit some of our students. Maybe they can come meet me, talk to me, ask questions, because most of our high school back practicing at that time, or just at least around and getting ready for the school year to start. Online registration is still set and actively going. We have 2 in-house sessions open to the public if they need help with registration or just access to computers, and those have been going out in mass communication as well. Do you have any questions on
I do.
Yes,
How are registration numbers looking for us tomorrow?
Laura? She has the latest count.
It's actually, I didn't actually look at the numbers for the building. However, I have been watching just because I send for the records. I think they're up to, I want to say close to 100, which sounds really low. And it is, but we still have quite a few parents that need to do that. And we're having the registration dates this week. Getting some new students. High school age.
Great.
So pretty cool.
And I know there are people waiting the last minute, including 2 children.
I think last week we had this.
Coming in tomorrow.
I don't think we've registered ours yet.
A lot of people
Maybe.
didn't register until the very last second.
Yeah,
Can't plan based on what.
Yeah.
it's
Just curious how it was going.
No, it's
Yeah.
a great question.
And then my only other question was, will we get an opportunity to see any of the technology survey results?
Yes, it's not complete yet. Huge turnout. The first week and a
Okay.
half, there were 75 responses.
That's outstanding.
And I don't have all the numbers because I'm waiting every day. There's a few more that come in, so I was going to give it another couple weeks and then present it at the September. Most people support the idea of removing cell phones from instructional time. How we go about doing that is where some of the comments come in, which makes sense. So I will have a robust, pretty presentation that everyone can read that's clear and concise for the September meeting.
I had a question about the stage floor, that it was reported that we wanted to move away from blue. I was curious, who reported that and who decided?
That's great. They had me decide, and I said, I can't make that decision. So I pulled in Keenan and some of the staff that were here, and I said, well, I don't know. I don't know what is popular, unpopular. And they said that the blue was not popular, and that a neutral palette would be it would flow. And so whether it's too late to change, I don't know.
I think
I don't
gray's
have an
good.
opinion, I was just curious.
Yeah, ultimately, it was me, but but I asked for advice because I didn't know. But they needed a decision like immediately. It wasn't like we could do a survey out to the public.
Yeah.
There was just not time for that.
No.
Well, it's a stage floor. We don't even use it. I mean, we use it, but not. Anyway,
I think that the team, I think we have good taste, and I think it was a very classy, gray. That will match everything.
Hopefully it's just be clean, right? It's
Yeah.
clean.
gray is in.
Neutral.
Well, we thought it would flow nicely into the hall.
Because all the other floors are gray in the hallways.
We got blue lockers, so.
Other questions? All right, Mr. Harris, athletics and activities.
Good evening. How's everybody? Good to see you all. So really quick, just a couple of updates and then I'll get into like the football field and what we're kind of doing there. We're going to officially begin the football practices on the 18th. They will not be practicing on the football field. So Larrick and I've already talked about it. So he's going to do his best with the side fields that we have for right now. We are planning the pictures for fall. We put them on the books before we left school last year, but we got the picture set up for the 19th. So the next day, the Tuesday after football starts, we'll be doing fall sports for volleyball and football so that we can get the senior banners printed before the season starts and kind of get all the schedules out. Nicole's going to work on putting the football and the volleyball schedule just onto one sheet of some sort with both team pictures on there and everything, kind of make them a little bit nicer. And that way everybody will have those before before we get the season started. I talked with Miss Knudsen about that meeting. And so we kind of brainstormed a little bit. And so having like the parent meetings that same evening, so our coaches can meet with the parents that meeting, and then we'll be serving like hot dogs and cold drinks and things like that. So kind of make it like a little fall sports kickoff event for this year. Coaches are all on board. They're happy to do that and all that. And like I said, we can get the parent meetings done and updates on the schedules and things like that for folks. Football schedule's good, but today I was adjusting the volleyball schedule, high school volleyball schedule. Those practices will also begin on 18th, and they'll be participating with the pictures and everything. When I was writing the report, I wasn't sure if we were, Miss Knudsen and I kind of talked, and we thought the play shed might not be just the ideal spot for our varsity volleyball team to practice. So reached out to a couple of schools. Both of them actually got back to me. Philomath and Monroe got back to me today. And so Monroe's I think is going to be easier to work with. They gave us Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to noon. So that'll just be 4 practices that we'll have to have over there. And then they'll be practicing in the gym or in the play shed, doing like their conditioning and things like that on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So it was really nice of Monroe to help us out there. But Philomath did get back to us, but then there was like a whole bunch of forms I had to fill out, and Bo was like, yeah, come on over. So I was like, okay, Bo, thanks, man. Middle school volleyball will begin on the 8th of September. I talked to Mackenzie. She's pushing it back just to that next week because we're starting on a Thursday. So she's just going to start fresh on that Monday when we like basically our second full day of school. And then, but middle school football will begin on the 4th, that first Thursday that we're there for school, because they got to get their 8 practices in before they can play a game. So they have to have those 8 practices in and pads and all that. So that will give us basically the game will be on the 9th day. So they'll get their 8 days into practice for that. So they'll start on that Thursday, have all the brand new uniforms. We have all the helmets, everything's here. So we're ready to go. And I know also Ricky got new uniforms as well for the girls. So I hadn't seen those yet. She didn't I don't know who she thinks she is, but anyway, so like, but I'm sure they really look good. And she showed me a few mock-ups. So they, before the end of school last year. So, um, football field. So I came in last week. First thing I did is walk down there and just really, just be honest, super disappointed with what we have down there right now. They took off the turf, killed it, took it off. It was going to be a 2-week project, but it turned into a little bit longer. And I don't know if they brought in some contaminated topsoil. They didn't bring in very much because our sidelines are droopy. We've got where they cut into the sideline. There's like a big where just water stands in there now, and it's just loaded with kinds of weeds that we don't even have in our grass around our school. So fortunately, Keenan and I went down and looked at it. We talked about it, and then like the next day, I think maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, I don't know, but our adjuster happened to be at school. He came in to see us, and so he and I walked down there because they're the ones that paid for this job to be done. So we walked down there, and he kind of looked, and so insurance company now is aware of what we're dealing with right now. He was really super helpful. Sent us an email of just kind of some ways that we could go about working with this contractor to get this taken care of. Talked to Keenan today. They're coming out Thursday, apparently to do like a weed and feed on it. And then after they do that, and then they're going to have to reseed it and we're going to have to start over. I mean, basically, if it gets down to it, our insurance, Nate, the guy that WHA or whatever it is, he said if they need to write a letter, or I mean, he was really super helpful. So I feel like if we can't just work with the contractor and get it and come to like a solution, then we have them to kind of come in, step in and help us with that. So, but right now, like I've already reached out to Falls City for the first middle school football game, and that's going to most likely be an away game because we just don't have a facility right now to play on. So it's just disheartening, I think, for the most part for me anyway, to see our football field in that kind of condition right now. So any questions about the football field? I got a couple of updates, OSAA, but is there any questions about the football field while I'm on that particular subject?
Thank you for reaching out to the insurance adjuster, though.
Yeah, I'm disappointed that I haven't, but it sounds like you're on it.
Yeah, I wish I was a little bit more involved with that. It looked like they were kind of lagging, and then all of a sudden came in and was like, oh my gosh, they got it all in and it's all seated. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, oh great, man, like fantastic. So but the crown's not really right. So I don't know what. We're just gonna have to wait and see and talk to these guys Thursday and see if we can hopefully we don't have to start over, but if we do, then then I guess that's what we have to do. So OSAA, I wanted to just bring you guys up. There are a few redistricting proposals being thrown around out there, some rule changes for 1A, the 6 quarters for basketball instead of the 5, being able to do 6 events in track instead of 4. So trying to help the 1A teams have a little bit more competitiveness and have a few more representations in different events and things like that. So these won't affect our year of association this year. Those will still have to go to their board, and then they'll have to approve them or whatever. So, but anyway, so that's kind of been and I have a meeting Thursday as well with AD meeting with all the ADs over here and at Eugene, and then we have our league meeting after that. So hopefully by then I've got a bunch of questions that I've written out to ask at the meeting just to kind of clarify some things. So once I have that meeting, then at least next board meeting, I'll be able to present you guys with a little bit more substantial update with what's going on with some of that stuff. So. But I think that's about all I have for you guys, unless you have any other questions.
I do have a question.
Yes.
I'm curious, it was brought to my attention that there may be some middle school parents who are concerned about maybe missing out on an opportunity for photos for their kids, for their fall sports?
So we're just
Very
doing the high
big.
school. No. We're just doing high schools. We're just doing the high school football, high school volleyball. These are not middle school pictures this time. We have
And
a,
there will.
yeah, we have another date set up. I don't remember.
Okay.
the date. Yeah, yes, yeah.
Okay,
So if you hear anybody,
I
yeah,
can share that. Okay.
let them know. But if they, yeah, but this is just for high school football and volleyball, so we can get like the vinyl banners and stuff printed and things like that
Okay,
for the team pictures.
thank you.
Mhm. Thank you guys, and we're glad to have Miss Knudsen.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. All right, we'll go into our business manager report. Mr. Staley,
It's closed. So,
I'm always smiling.
Wait till I start this.
Push and hold.
I think after 2 years, I would remember
Push
that.
and hold till you see the green light.
I think we're close enough. I do not think this. That's beside the point. Anyway, I want to go over the financials in depth because number one, we're at the end of 1 year and we're starting the new year. We've just had our interim audit exit today. Stacy and I did, and it went fairly well. Just a couple minor things, but they'll be solved. I think we're the first school that'll have the audit done. I've requested that from Dave, so we can get everything complete. All entries have been done. Brennan and I have worked hard to get everything balanced. We just have a couple things that yet to do. We haven't got the information, and I'll go over those when we do the financials. But other than that, I think our R will be done in October, hopefully, and we can present it earlier and get everything there. We know I'm pretty sure they're fairly accurate right now, so we're moving ahead. Stacy mentioned setting up the year. I think we've got all staff set up already in contracts and everything. So the next board meeting, I can probably do a financial statement, project where we're being, and maybe more information. We'll have the grants. Working with Stacy on the grants right now. We're in a transition because Krista budgeted one way. Now we're getting the actual dollars, and so it's a learning curve both ways, and we just want to make sure we get the financials started out. If you get them started out correctly, the rest of the year is much easier rather than going back. So we're on that. General fund, all revenues are in except one, and that would be the Benton County July collection turned over in August, because under GASB and GAP, you have to, the next 60 days, you have to record those revenues, even though they're received in 25, 26, they're really for 24, 25. And I'm waiting for that information. Other than that, you'll see that our total revenues compared to budget is 133,000 more than what we budgeted, but that's including beginning cash. So, but what I wanted to go over is, for your information, and I go over this a lot, we just got the final on 23-24. This is 24-25. Then we have 25-26, and we won't receive the final for 24-25 until May of next year. So we're always kind of a year behind. But the final ADM numbers came in, and we were estimating per the ODE and everything was 222, and I gave you the enrollment. We'll go over that, but it came up at 233, but we're still a hold harmless district, but that only helps the next year because it's the higher of the 2 years. So that's a good plus. And I gave you the state school support formula, and I estimate we're going to receive about 49,000 more in May of next year, based on the numbers that I have. But as we know, things change, but I have the audited, most of that's due to our transportation costs more than what we had presented to the ODE. You have to be a little conservative on that rather than do it the other way around. And I've given you the formula there, but it's roughly, we're not going to have a big shocker, hopefully, again in May. I wanted to give you the enrollment just for your information, and mainly for Stacy too. We're budgeting next year on 222 students, and I'm on page 6. That's the breakdown between the learning at home and the brick and mortar, and you'll see those two numbers there, 25, 26. So you can see when Laura's talking about 100, are you talking about 100? Just building. Well, that made me feel better. So, but you'll notice that we have budgeted for the building, brick and mortar is 162. So we're 62 less, and everybody started. I think we'll make that number. And then learning at home, we're budgeted based on 60. So those are the numbers there, and you can see we ended up at 233. And you'll see the breakdown just to give you the history of between the year when COVID was there, how it went up due to learning on, and that helped the district out immensely because we were always at the higher end of the end when we're getting back this way. Expenditures, roughly everything's done except the food service. I'm waiting for the one payment from the state that's for the CEP that the state approved that they're going to give you a certain amount of money, and they won't give that until all districts have their claims in by August 25th. You saw that today. We have ours in July 2nd. So, but then when they have that, then they can give you the final payment because they need all districts in to do that calculation. Everything's based on what everybody else does. We're not just alone. That's just the way life is. So I'm estimating we'll go over the food service on that. So I always go over the food service with you to keep you in tune on that. But I'm estimating about a $55,000 transfer from the general fund, and we had budgeted 123, which is good. Next year we budgeted 100, just to be safe. Hopefully we don't need that. I told Stacy to work with Paloma and Corvallis and figure out, and we have a new head cook, so hopefully we can get this down and figure it out. But most districts do have a transfer from the general. It's just normal, especially in small districts. What I'm estimating on the ending fund balance is really not any different. It's about 6.5 million. But again, we're using $1 million a year. And so, like I've said during the budget, and I'm kind of repeating myself both for Stacy and for everybody, is to plan how to use those dollars so you don't go off the cliff, and how to structure the building and the staff throughout and what expenditures, because you don't want to be in the same situation of the Westland where they cut 87 staff at one time, and those that I've been involved with. You need a plan. And so that's my recommendation on that. Special revenues. I mentioned there's a few of one that we're still waiting for, and that is a youth transition program or the pre-employment. We have the students working this summer. So what I need, the grant goes between October from such and such, and it ends in like September 30th. Most federal grants do that. We need to do the final payroll for those students so I know how much is remaining in here, and that way then I can reclassify some of Roxanne Cessna's salary. That would put it back in the general fund to close that, because she's been billing on an hourly basis, but she's charged in the general fund because we don't know. And then I'll balance that out for both the audit and the general fund. So hopefully there's another 15,000 that'll go in the general fund. Other than that, all grants are done. We finalized and we'll be doing the final reports for the integrated guidance. I think everything is there. You'll see that the one grants in there, you'll see student activities. Those are monies that are generated for students for the purpose of students, and Bren monitors those. We have the baseball, softball program. Those monies have been carried over for a few years that were donated for that purpose. I'm going over these so Stacy understands these grants too. And then we have our bus replacement. where 90% of the depreciation has to go back into that fund to cover the purchase of new buses. You can't use depreciation money that is through the state school support to maintain your general fund. It has to go into a specific grant to buy buses. So we're building that up. And we also charge, WLA is using 3 of our buses. And this year, we're charging them 12,000 each for those buses, and we'll finalize that this year because they need to get on their own because they had such an old fleet and we had these buses, but they were on our depreciation schedule. So, working with Krista and Keenan and them, we kept them on, but this year we're charging them 36,000. So we'll have that additional money also. Other than that, you'll see the, nutrition service program there. I'm showing that 54,000. Go to the next page. As usual, I'm going to show you our participation for all free. And lunch is 66% and breakfast is 65%. Roughly only 2/3 of the kids are eating, a third are not. But all meals are free. So if we could get that up, that would lower the transfer down. So that's a goal. Same thing, going to the next page is the financial there, and I'm showing you what I'm still estimating from the state for that. Once we get that, then I can close that grant also of the food service. The next page, again, showing the cost per meal. It's costing the district $1.62 to support the food service program. So we need just to figure out how to lower that because we're not getting the reimbursement and costs keep going up. Any questions on the food service? You've
Yeah.
heard it 1,000 times.
I have a question just because of the weekend meeting. So in our regional breakout, when Soren and I were there, someone brought up Medicaid funding for speech therapy and different things in the school that get reimbursed.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so I was curious if kids on food stamps, if we're missing the revenue that the state covers for them in our budget. I didn't know if we were or weren't.
We have not been doing the MAC survey, which I've done in my other districts, and it is something I want to get going. I've reached out to LBL to get that contact because not only can you fund through the MAC survey, but you can also fee for service for certain services.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you're aware because it was something that he said they had missed for a number of years and it was a lot of money. And I think in a rural district like us where so many people are poor, we might be missing a lot of money.
We are, yeah, so we're.
Okay, great. I'm so excited. I thought it might be a question.
I've done it for many years. It
It's
takes
so-
work.
It
It's
is a lot of work. It is.
It is a lot of work, and you have to have your staff buy in too.
Well, the other
Yes.
interesting thing was, the schools that have kids paying for the lunch, the percentage of use is about the same. And they were talking about making it free to get a higher percentage. And I was like, well, wow, we're getting like 66. It was just based on memory. I didn't look it up, percent that are using it for free. I mean, I think there's just a percentage of kids that just bring their food from home or don't,
Or they
Eat,
go over-
or they go to the Merc or they go to wherever.
They wanna
But
get off.
But I'm excited you're at least, I mean, I don't know what it'll mean and they couldn't tell me either, but I think also what they realized the most was this money from medical services for speech therapy, occupational therapy, other things that kids need in school that they were paying through, the ODE
Yeah.
and they could get reimbursed themselves. So anyway,
Love
We're,
potential.
we're on that.
Everyone in-
The food service, a larger district has more flexibility to compete with the outside market because they can have sandwich bars.
right.
They can have all these different things. When you're a smaller district, you
Right.
don't have that. It's not like you have a menu. This is what you have because you only have 100 and some kids eating, and we don't even have the facility to do the various things too. So, but we're going to think of options,
We are, we're gonna brainstorm,
brainstorm.
make it a little more appealing.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
Um,
great.
Debt service. Money's directly to pay off that, and that's what we budgeted around 34,000 as our beginning cash, so we're fine, and the rate is, I'm going off my memory, is about $1 or less than $1. I think it was 93 cents. We're trying to keep it at the same rate throughout the length of the bond. And so we don't use all the beginning cash the next year. We're saving it so that the rate doesn't, you don't want the rate to go up and down on your debt service because you'll have people calling right and left on that. So we're trying to keep it flat. Capital projects. We transferred money in there. I think in the notes, capital projects are a little difficult in the financial statements for you is because you're dealing between two different years and all the projects are going in 2 different years. And I tried to give you a summary of what the balance was going to be right now. I think there's about 217,000 in the capital projects that has not been encumbered. Right now it shows the audit will show you have 376, but you really don't have that money. The next statement will show what we spent in July and August on the various projects that you have approved. The fire alarm has been the one. But that's one thing I can tell you. Between Chris and Nancy and Brent, nothing gets by. I tell you, those 3 are amazing in keeping the contracts and the dollars and boom, boom, boom. So anyway, there's 217, and this is the summary for last year. And when we transferred the money, part of it went into 430. We'll go over that in the seismic. The next one is your bond. It shows in there 50-some thousand. There's no money left. $198. I think that's what's unencumbered. We'll move something around to zero that. So that would be done in the end of August. Okay. That has been quite the project, that one, collecting those funds from the state. The most important one, which Chris and Nancy will go over, is your seismic. Right now, you show a balance, a large balance, but that's not realistic because all the expenditures are in July and August. And Chris will go over that. I think there's around 50-some thousand or around that. We balance on a monthly basis with that, or Brent and him and Nancy balance.
And that 50-some thousand is our contingency, yeah?
Yeah, it's roughly the contingency, but Chris can go over that.
Okay.
Last page, unemployment. We set up the unemployment reserve. And even in the budget, we budgeted to transfer dollars, but we're not going to do it this next year because we have sufficient reserves there. And because of the shortfall of state school support, it just saves money the other way. And rather than just keep putting money in there that's not necessary, but we will find out really what the impact will be this summer because most of them have applied. So now we'll have a good picture of how much it'll cost us and go from there. And but right now we have 181,000, but we've had everybody apply for the summer. So I don't know what the cost of that's going to be, but I gave you what if somebody applied the whole time, what it would cost. PERS reserve, we had dollars in the PERS liability account that had been sitting there for a long time. And I just put it in for Stacy's purposes. We put it in the reserve, and that's to smooth any rate increase down the road. That during the budget process, how to use it. And so that's the financial statements in depth. The September one will be more informative. I'll tell you if there's any adjustments to this, which I don't, but I'll project on 25, 26 where we're at. We should have all staff, everything in. And so I think things are running smoothly. Any questions?
I have a question that came from your summary. It was about, so there was money in workers' comp?
Yeah,
I'm just
there's
curious
been,
about-
I'm one of those that I'm not sure it keeps carrying forward, and it's kind of in the liability account.
Is that,
Yeah.
we usually keep, do we usually keep money in there?
No. Here's how workers' comp works. You pay on a monthly basis on what you give them as your projected salaries for the year at a certain rate. And then in July, you have to give them your final payroll. And they multiply that all out and you might get a credit or you might owe more. Well, there's been this balance sitting there. It's kind of accumulated because we charge all staff based on a certain rate. And it's been sitting there. And I said, well, I'm not going to be here forever. And somebody's going to wonder what that is. And I just wanted everything clean during this audit. And it's been sitting there, like the PERS was there, and I think Jamie understands, you have the liability accounts. It's sitting here, and nobody ever sees those liability accounts. And I believe all the payroll liabilities need to zero out all the time. And that's just the way I've always done it. So I moved it out. I talked to the auditor, I moved it in because it's really an expense that was from the prior year. You expensed it in prior years through payroll. And now it's sitting in a liability. So I recorded it in 1960, which is revenue for prior year's expenditures, refunds for prior year's expenditures. And they said, fine. I always believe in asking the auditors before I do it on something like that. Okay.
And so I'm not really clear on where that money came from.
Okay. When you do payroll, you put everybody's different rate. There's 4 different rates. There's the professionals, there's the maintenance, there's custodians, there's bus drivers, and there are food service. And you give an estimate at the beginning of the year what the salaries are going to be. And that's including substitutes, temporaries, and everything. So when you charge these people, it goes into this liability account. Well, when you pay on your estimate, your liability account, what you've been putting in here is greater than what you're paying out. So this has been accumulated. I don't know. I didn't want to go back.
Right, that
It
was
was
my question.
accumulated it could have been 5 years, 6 years.
So a
just-
little bit each year.
Oh yeah, it just keeps going there and I believe it needs to zero out at
And
year.
that's just from the difference between the actual salary and the projected salary.
Expense, not salary. Yeah, right. Totally correct.
There's a little bit each year and then eventually it's
Yeah,
a big
it just
number.
gets bigger. Yeah, you're always wrong. So,
Okay, thank you.
any other questions? Now I bored you.
Thank you, Don.
That's
It's never boring.
Thank you so much. All right, Chris and Nancy, a seismic report.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome, Stacy. And we've actually managed to bombard Stacy quite a bit, so she's well acquainted with us now. But George, we have not had a chance to welcome you to the board, so welcome to the board. You guys have our report in front of you. As Stacy indicated, yeah, there's new surprises every day, but we have a really good team and everybody is working through them. Todd is actually working overtime and on weekends to ensure that they finish on schedule for turnover on August 25th. And we're going to be meeting with Keenan tomorrow to talk through kind of Todd's cleanup and then turning the transition over to the school district to do their final clean. And the fire alarm project is also tracking well to finish on schedule for school to start. So we, after nearly 3 years with you all, we are anticipating that our last meeting with the school board will be the September school board meeting. We'll have everything buttoned up. We'll probably continue to work with Dawn on closing out the financials until October, but you probably won't see us again after next month.
You don't want to just come for fun?
What's that?
You don't want to just come for fun? I mean.
Well, we might come for
do?
fun, yeah.
We can come up with another project.
What are we supposed to do?
Sorry,
Well,
carry
that
on.
you know, you are applying for another seismic grant in the fall, so good luck on that one. But that does bring up another topic. Stacy, I gave Stacy this information earlier. One of the final things that you have to do with a seismic grant is you have to actually post a plaque on the building somewhere public to say that, hey, this was all funded. This seismic upgrade was funded by a state seismic grant. And so you have options. You can go the expensive bronze plaque, or you can go something a little more lower cost, I'll call it that. Stacy has the information for you guys to review, and we will need to get that ordered pretty quick because if you do decide to go with bronze, there's a little bit of a lead time on getting that produced. And then the other thing that we wanted to bring up to you was, since you are the school board, we'd like to give you the opportunity, if you want to have a tour through the facility when it gets pretty close to done before the crowds hit. Right now, there's a lot going on, and it might be a little scary to give you a tour now, but we could do it. We'd prefer to give you a tour maybe the last week before we turn it over to before the school starts, when you can see what's really been changed.
Sounds great.
Sounds amazing. Yep.
Is that plaque something our students can't
That was a question.
do?
Can I
Is
read
the
that one?
lead time enough that they could wait for school to start and the shop class could make it?
I can ask about that. There's a lot of information on it. So if you're looking at like your folks using the plasma cutter, it's either going to be a really big sign or some really small letters for them to produce. And we can, when we know that we're close to the end of the project, we can put up kind of a temporary sign just to close out the seismic grant and get the final payment. But it's not something that you can just hold over for a long time.
Okay.
If you'd like, I can, I've sent the information to Stacy, but I can forward it to whoever you would like of the board members to pass it on to your teacher and see if he thinks that it's something that he can take on in a timely manner.
Need a vote tonight? Or do you just need like a decision
Just
from the
a-
board?
Probably just a decision. The breakdown.
And it doesn't have to be decided tonight. We just wanted to bring it up so that you guys could discuss it between yourselves and decide how you want to go. I'll see if is there one in particular that I should send this information to that's going to take it over to the instructor?
You can give it to me.
Stacy? Okay, it's in that email I sent you,
Yeah.
but
just
I'll
forward that.
resend it.
Okay.
Cool. Does
If it's
anybody have any
something that the students
questions?
can do, I would prefer to go with the cheaper option.
Yeah.
And I figured yeah.
I like bronze. Maybe not for our school.
Any
Yeah,
questions?
bronze is beautiful, but
It is, yeah. If we could have afforded to finish that exterior wall right, we could have put it on there. Since we had to cheap it.
I don't think there's any questions. It's sad to see. It's sad to hear that next month might be our last month, but that is just because of a good working relationship. So thank you so much.
it's sad for us too, but we are so pleased that we've been able to do so much with the funds that you've entrusted to us.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, well, we will move straight into new business. First up on our new business is to approve the evaluation standards and processes. This is for how we evaluate the superintendent through the OSBA COSA partnership evaluation process. If the board would like to discuss going a different route, I would definitely want to get Vince or Kristen in here to advise us on that, but this is part of our superintendent evaluation schedule also, just to make sure that we have those standards so we can move forward with that. And what that looks like is like I want to say it's an 8, but it might be like 8 to 9 tiered level ranked system, self-evaluation, board evaluation individually, and then an accumulation of the board numbers together. And so it kind of guides us through that entire process. And so that is what we need to vote to either accept or look for a different path this evening. And I did not ask for an attachment, and that is my
Yeah,
fault.
that's always like, is there anything that, I mean, I'm
That's on me.
Okay,
Do you-
well, I'll make a motion to approve the evaluation standards and process as written
Through OSBA.
through SBA.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Any discussion?
Yeah, I mean, everyone except for George is familiar with it.
Yeah.
But I really don't feel like it would be a good use of our time to try and make something up of our own, or like, I don't even know who else would have that sort of stuff for us.
I don't know that we'd get it right.
Yeah, Like, we're familiar with the process, we've used it before, and I don't think there's any reason to not use it again.
Would you mind just sending out, the booklet, or asking Vince to send the booklet out to all of us again, so we can all look it over? I think that's the fair thing to do in that space. I did not ask for an attachment on that.
George will see it. I don't.
Don't be overwhelmed.
Absolutely.
It's all right.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Follow-up task is to send out some additional information. So Lori, you do a vote for it?
Yes.
Yep, yes.
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 Yes. All right, next up is the superintendent SMART goals that have been presented and are linked.
And I just went to sleep there. So I have a ton of goals. I put 4 out in a document because I thought these kind of hit all the big categories, the big pillars. So goal number 1, strengthen school community relationship. That's foundational, fundamental in success of the entire district. So that's probably number 1. And it's a little bit tough to measure. But the action steps are things that I have learned are highly effective. And so these are the things that I'd like to do. Establish a community engagement team. And right now it's kind of me, but it's July. And so we're going to develop that. I want to have basically stakeholders from different departments that are reaching out in these monthly community sessions, and a team of people promoting through the social media outlets, including students. Students are a really powerful voice for that. But all of these elements are engaging the community to find out, what are they happy about? What are they concerned about? What are some needs? What are wants? And how do we work together to provide that? So a big way to do this is just being engaged physically, verbally with the people. So setting up opportunities for that. Hosting, I put on here 4+ annual events. I would love to do monthly, but when we get into basketball season, it is really tough to hit that monthly mark. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not talking to people at basketball games. It's just not a formal, hey, here's where we're going to get together and have ice cream or coffee. But making a space intentionally for those events, but also working with our family liaison for some family nights and literacy events. And if it's just an art night, I'm working on one of those right now with Nicole and say, and she works with LDL. Where she's at, but she's great and she's doing an art night for us. So just elements of that. The monthly newsletters, the biannual parent student feedback surveys, those are really powerful. October's a great time. That's when student conferences, that first set of conferences are happening. People are involved, they're engaged, they're experiencing the school life. They have a little bit more knowledge and more questions to ask. And more feedback to provide. So in October and like a March or April 1 are really powerful. And then partnering with those local organizations to support our families. Met with Alsby Plaza. Yes, we're going to engage with them for a community night, but also they give vouchers to help with the evento groups and do shopping events where it's not just, hey, here's some items, but hey, shop. That's very simple. Just those kinds of networks that are underway and they're really important. Number 2, building RTIs. This is going to be within our systems here at school. Building RTI systems for reading and math through our skills. And this is a lot of our training, professional development, and our intentional work every week as a team. So, if you have questions on any of this, ask me. Number 3 is growing instructional capacity for that tier. This is a challenge. I would love 100% of classrooms showing tiered learning by spring. Truly, tier 1 is everyone. Tier 2, like that, 15%. Tier 3 is that. to 5% that need extreme intervention. And so I want to see that across the board. Elementary does a really good job of it. It's just so natural at the elementary level. We still need to add middle and high for all of our students. So working on some training and development of model lessons are going to be underway as well. And then number 4, cultivating the vibrant student culture to basically expand on our enrollment. Can't talk tonight, sorry. But by August of next year, I would love to create a district-wide student culture framework to enhance belonging, wellness, and engagement, increasing satisfaction survey scores by 20%. Again, it's really hard to picture this and gauge it. So survey can give you some data, but we're also going to see it if we have more students here. Our attendance is up because kids want to be here. And then other families catch on that this is a great, vibrant place to learn, and there are exciting programs. And yeah, it's a small school, but there's actually a ton of opportunities. So that's what I want to build, and I need the students to help build that. So those are some of the action steps to get those done. Questions on any of it?
Is it appropriate right now to ask about some of your strategies? that
Sure.
you Tend to use?
Sure.
So I guess my first question is on number 1. How are you going to measure improving achievement? By 10%?
So there's a couple ways. There is, of course, the SBAC data, which is not great. I would look more at our diagnostic data, which we do 3 times a year, right?
I read it.
Yeah, I read it. Yeah, correct.
And then where I had a question about strategies. By the way, having these ambitious goals supported 100%. Number 4 in the culture, like reducing discipline by referrals by 25%. That seems huge. I'm just wondering if more curiosity, like how are you gonna do that? I don't, and my
Yep.
question, is it appropriate to even quiz you about this operational stuff right now? I'm
You
just
can
like, how-
absolutely quiz it, and
how
there's
are
no
you gonna do that?
guarantee that I'm gonna get there. That is a goal, though. If we can reduce the discipline, then kids are in classrooms learning, and the culture is better just by the nature of we're not dealing with punitive practices. It's like we're celebrating, we're constantly celebrating, and if you're celebrating, the energy is good, and kids want to be here and they want to learn. So through that is getting a great student leadership involved. We can have all the most educated, professionals in the building and all of these amazing leaders, but if our kids don't have the buy-in, if they don't want to be here and they don't have ownership in the learning, it's not going to happen. So we need to really generate a strong student leadership, and it doesn't have to just be ASB. It's leadership within our sports programs. It's leadership within the classrooms. It's leadership in the hallways, lunchtime, after school activities, all of those things, which really are kind of looped into this community relations piece, as well as the tiered learning, because everyone is included. But also adding in a really strategic tiered system for behavior supports, and that's through our Wayfinder. Wayfinder is a powerful program. I don't know how much it's been used here, so I'm hoping to really dive into that. I have
It was just introduced last year.
was it
right?
okay?
I think so.
And when I sent out to the staff, I have a whole year plan of what we're going to focus on, what lessons we're going to do for each month that are tiered and targeted. Previous districts, it has been beneficial. So that's one of my action plans. I do hope that it works. I don't have all the answers, but that's my plan.
And I'm just curious, what is it, Mr. Harris's committee about behavior, what is that called?
Like PBIS.
Oh,
Yeah. Is that somehow?
It is all taken. Yeah.
And then my last thing was about growing enrollment by 10%, strategies for that, but the way you're speaking sounds like it's all gonna come from the rest of it.
We can't just put out more flyers or go promote, like we have to build a place that people want to be part of. And that's how we're gonna grow it.
Create a destination.
And it's contagious. When there is a positive energy and there is success and.
Oh, it's absolutely contagious. I enjoyed the hour and 40-minute session at conference revisiting our strategic plan and our goal and vision mission statement. I think the most incredible thing to hear was people talking who are a year in after completing the plan people who just launched the plan and then people who are like 2 years in and the difference it made if it's well orchestrated, right?
Yes.
And so knowing we're just approaching that time to finalize was pretty exciting because it gives you that. I think it was a good time for transition here with you because had we already developed that plan completely and then we get a new super, like I happen to be sitting next to a man who was a super for 12 years, listening to him, right? How difficult it is with transitions of boards and new superintendents and finding these parallels and then differences of opinion. One thing I just wanted to ask on this, and it's not really listed here, but I'm curious because you're coming in and I know you've done this a couple times. How do you, this is under like number 3, identify and support lead teachers and coaches. How quickly are you able, in your experience, to determine teachers that are going to rise to the level of your expectation or have to be either instructed or modified to get there? Because there's a broad spectrum, right, of abilities. I'm just,
The more experience I get, the quicker that services.
Yeah.
I would say within the first quarter.
okay. I
Not
mean,
always.
I
but
love your passion. I don't disagree with Soren. Ambitious goals, I think, are great goals. I just, I'm just curious about how things are gonna move this year.
Correct. And these numbers, I mean, you have to have percentage growth.
Right, right.
I have no idea if this will happen. And I'm okay with failing as long as we're moving the dial. I don't think that's failing.
Mm, Progress is progress.
It's progress. So
If we can get one bullet on each of one of these areas adopted wholeheartedly, like 100%, I think that's a win, honestly.
yeah. And I've never been a proponent of writing mediocre goals just so you can achieve them. Because we're not mediocre. I don't want to be mediocre. I don't want anyone here to be mediocre.
Yeah, if you write goals that you know you can achieve already, there's no incentive for growth.
But exactly. And if this takes us 2 years, awesome. 3 years, whatever it is, as long as we are all collectively moving together, that's where we're going to see the shift.
So we don't have to vote on these tonight because they're her goals, just so we're
Sure.
clear. I would ask just one question. How would you like to keep us updated? Do you want to do that through like kind of the private evaluation process? Or would you like to kind of evaluate that and keep us updated on monthly? Or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, what I've done in the past, and I liked it in my board report, it was more geared towards this. How are we meeting? What are we doing? What steps are being done this last month or the last, month and a half to hit target 1 and 2 and 3 and 4?
Like,
Have you spoken with anyone in the community about like a leadership program?
Leadership for students
yeah.
or, I've had pretty informal conversations with some parents.
Well, I just had someone reach out to me that was working on something in a way that seemed like, yeah, it was advancing. And I was just curious that helped do the leadership program for Silet's charter, or their school. I don't know if it's a charter, and had tremendous results with those students moving on to very valuable life experience and positions in government and other places. And they were pretty passionate about getting in touch with you to try to do the same thing here. So I'll
Oh, yeah.
talk to you about that. But
Perfect. I do have a name for someone who's worked on grants. So let's try
Mm.
the grant. Same
I think it's the
person,
same person that helped build that leadership program,
Okay.
for them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
but yes, give me the contact, please.
okay. Any concerns with kind of the superintendent report being geared around this?
No, I think it's great.
And you could be more detailed in the check-ins.
Mhm.
I've already forgotten how we schedule all that.
I,
November,
All right, the next one,
November.
there you go.
she's gonna laminate that, keep it in her bag. I guess.
Gonna be right underneath flip side of the
Well, that made it
flip
under
side
my
of,
purse
there's
at
already
one
something.
point.
All right, so next is the leadership operating agreement, which we have the old copy, well, we have the current copy in front of us. Jamie and I took some time and we actually just made a few modifications, and the goal here was to present a few modifications without doing 4-hour Saturdays.
Right, amen.
So hoping that was a I hope that is, everybody's happy with at least that, but none of these have to be accepted by any means. And they can be modified for sure. So there's only 2 changes that we wrote in there. One was on section 3, how we communicate. Stacy, this one actually kind of leads to you a little bit. It says the board is kept apprised of district operations through regular update emails and phone calls or text messages for emergencies. So historically, we've gotten kind of a weekly email. I'm not sure that's something you wanted to continue. So we wanted to kind of talk about that. So we want, like, whatever we have here, we want to make sure we're following along, and want to make sure the board's good with that too. And we threw text messages in there because it was really helpful to get just a quick, like, hey, we had to have the ambulance come today, just so you know, everybody's okay, keeping the board apprised. So like, just those quick emergency updates were really nice, but I threw a text message in there, or we threw a
Yeah.
text message in there because,
Due to the nature of what I do for work, I often can't pick up the phone, but I can always read my text.
Read it.
and it's so much easier to,
Mm.
because you can shoot us a text.
Yes.
We just
Yes.
can't respond.
Right,
to
to the
them.
whole-
So,
right.
I didn't know your thoughts really around the emails, because
Mhm.
didn't know what your practice was in that space.
I have not done weekly email updates, because I gave pretty thorough monthly updates. But if you guys need a weekly update, maybe a weekly update if there's something big happening or a change.
I think from my experience, the weekly updates were not that vitally important. I think it was maybe relationship building in some ways early on. I think it's not necessary with the amount you have on your plate. Every person lives a different life, and you have children and school age children, and I don't want to encumber you with something that might be somewhat unimportant.
I appreciate that. I do think if there's something big, I'm gonna send an email, and I'll probably send a texting, especially if it's urgent. On the
Right.
weekend, I'll say, please read your email.
Yeah.
When we do have if there's a crisis or an emergency, that's usually how I'd handle it. You would get a detailed email, as detailed as I could,
Sure.
and then a text message saying, please read your email, just so that you had an alert, because some people don't have that come to their phone, and I understand that. I didn't necessarily type out a text message with those details. It's a personal phone, and
Mhm.
but I would do it through the email if that works.
And I think something we've all seen in the last couple of years, at least since I've been on the board, is we all have different needs of relationship with you. And it really behooves us to reach out to you and ask for those times to talk, discuss if things are on our mind, not you, us. And there's 5 of us and 1 of you.
Yeah.
And it might be vitally important to Jamie or Soren, but not important at all to me. You know, I'm
Right.
just saying.
No, it's
Right,
fair. I
like-
was just gonna say, I think the reason it started there was actually back like 2 superintendents ago. So it was with Mr. Gallagher that kind of, it was building a connection where there hadn't maybe been a connection, and then with a new superintendent, that was new to superintendency, we continued that,
Right.
but you're coming in with a different level of experience and practices. And so I think that was kind of the thought here is, do we just kind of change that sentence to say apprise of district operations through email updates and phone calls or
Right.
text messages for emergencies, you know,
Yeah, I think
making it a little bit more broad for success overall for all of us.
I did appreciate, especially through some of the legislative stuff that was coming down the pike when she would send articles,
Mhm.
or when there was key trigger topics that really are gonna hit our families. Like if you see an article or you hear something at a conference, plant the seed so we can maybe do some pre-work and educating ourselves before the community has an opportunity to freak out.
Yeah.
So we can at least have some knowledge of what's coming.
right. No,
As
that makes sense.
we're not necessarily tied into some of the same communications.
Yeah, it was helpful to have
Yeah,
weekly updates on, for those sorts of things, rather than like waiting for the board meeting
Mhm.
where everybody hears it. But I also recognize not wanting to tie you down, and say,
yeah.
send us a weekly thing.
Right.
So just, I guess,
Yeah.
it seems important.
Mhm. And it's
to
gonna
you,
highly impact
yeah,
the district.
Send it to us right away.
Mhm.
I think also maybe minus George, our board is pretty cohesive right now. And I would probably rely on, I mean, just because you're new, I think I would rely on Ristine or Jamie to communicate with the board about maybe moderate things for you, because we can effectively do that. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I always used to tell Krista, like, you put a lot of off-duty time into your job and you already put a lot of time on duty. That was fine for her. I don't want the expectation to be that on Friday night or Saturday or Sunday, you're appeasing the board by communicating to us about non-essential or urgent things, right? Because I just feel like we all take a lot away to do our work and our job effectively already, that we're not on the clock. I think Krista enjoyed it, and I sometimes enjoyed reading them, like whatever, but anyway, that's just,
And I do want to reiterate, the relationship is very important. So if you don't feel you have a solid
Mhm.
trust-based relationship with Stacy yet, schedule those one-on-ones,
Mhm.
schedule that time, because that's really the way that this can be successful. And I think that's the only way we can remain cohesive at the table
Right,
as well, is
right.
if we all trust whom we're directing. So.
Okay, so that was, that modified that person, sorry, that the last sentence on bullet 3 to read: the board is kept apprised of district operations through email updates and phone calls or text messages for emergency.
There you go. Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay. Sorry, let me back up to that again. So there was a second one, and one of the things we talked about in our agenda meeting was that, moving away from feel good meetings to keeping us in business meetings. And also, again, Russ, to kind of the statement you just said, making sure that the time that we ask the superintendent to invest is something that the entire board agrees upon, because I can't ask Stacy to put in 30 hours of work. I don't lead her. As a collective unit, we lead her together. And so under expectations of the school board, added number 14 there, and it says, and this is definitely probably needs a little massaging, so like tear it apart, please. During board meetings, members may propose topics for future agenda items. These suggestions will be considered for inclusion based on board consensus, ensuring that all voices are heard and that the superintendent's time and resources are aligned with the priorities of the majority. And so the goal there is like, hey, I want to talk about this policy, or I want what's the electronics or the AI one you worked on? The
responsible use of technology.
the responsible use of technology. So we put it there. We asked for the time and investment, and the entire board agreed that that was something that was time and investment worthy. But it wasn't just me asking for that, saying go put this forth, and the rest of the board feeling like, well, that's not really what I want to invest our time in on. So didn't know if this was something that the board found as kind of like, I kind of wrap my head around it as like a maturity step forward in how we handle our business and what we ask for, but leave it there for modifications or refusal.
Well, and
Break it down.
it's something I always struggled with, before, attending my first agenda meeting. Sometimes at the meeting today, I'm not gonna necessarily know what I wanna talk about a month from now or what I wanna propose, so it's hard to slide it into that future agenda item section. How do we handle that? How do we make sure that everybody's getting an opportunity to present ideas they want to work on and decide collectively as a group? So that's kind of where this was born from. And so this is kind of what.
And to be honest, sometimes it's in the board meeting. I have the idea that I want to talk about in another board meeting because you're involved in the process. So I think it's great. I mean, I think it's always important too. Sometimes we do get pulled by passionate people on the board like Russ into wormholes. I think it's important for us to come to a consensus in a quick, concise way about what we're going to plan for future. So
Oh, I was just ready to move away from concepts and into wordsmithing, but I.
go ahead.
Smith away. Hold on a second. Let me get my notes. Also, you're only criticizing ChatGPT.
I'm just
Nice excuse. Sorry.
100% comfortable with the part that says priorities of the majority. That just makes it seem like we're not unified.
We can't say that, we had this discussion
Oh.
when we asked ChatGPT to word our thoughts.
This is incredible.
He did write it first. He did.
I'm sure
Let's
he did.
I had said unanimous, but we may
can't
not
always be,
always be
Right.
unanimous.
especially if some
And
one
it's
person wants something that.
Going
Or
to
not.
have to be majority. And that's why we chose that
Right.
word, is because
I mean, I understand it, and I don't have a really great solution in mind. I just like, it makes me a little I'd like to, kind of like to say the priorities of the board, but then that's vague enough to like where you probably even have it in there.
I think they put the majority word in there because it does need to be 3 out of 5. That kind of guides it. And I think that's where we might be stretching out of our comfort zone a little bit too, of being like, this isn't maybe my personal priority anymore, but the board says it's a priority. There's more knowledge in a majority than in my personal space, so I don't know, but
And I love
I
it when
mean,
we're unanimous.
To
and
be honest
we're
with
on the
you,
same
you
page
could have just
together.
ended it with these suggestions will be considered for inclusion based on a vote of the board. Like, I mean, really,
I think just use Russ's chat.
I mean, well, what I'm saying is sometimes when we add so much flowery language, it just is a little bit
Yeah.
like, because really you're saying it, but go ahead, you can leave it the way it is. I don't even care. I just like think if during a board meeting, someone proposes a topic and then the board suggests, considers it and votes, then it's by a vote of the board.
Can you say that again?
Oh, I said these suggestions will be considered for inclusion based on a vote of the board or a board vote, however you want to put that, like, or by,
Just have a
vote.
vote of the board, I think covers it.
Yeah. I mean, it just
Yeah,
simplifies it.
That
it's
feels-
consensus, saying
yeah.
it includes majority. It
Right.
doesn't make it sound like we're
I mean, the whole ensuring all voices are heard, and that just comes from the world of not offending anyone. We're gonna hear everyone's voice as a board
It's
collectively when
really
we're here.
limited, right? Like, it's
Right.
gonna-
Never happened here.
I think
But I have
about it.
made some personal progress and oaths to myself. So.
Okay, these suggestions will be considered for inclusion based on the vote of the board.
There you go.
Okay. And the only other wordsmithing was, I think,
Number 7.
on number 17. Essentially model clear and unbiased communication while expecting it from fellow board members, manage interpersonal problems within the board, addressing them as needed. I just threw a comma there that said outside of a board business. So we're not handling any interpersonal issues at the table during a business meeting. Or we, that was the thought on that one, but didn't know if that was something everybody wanted written in there.
I don't think that's the place to air any grievance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of mixed because on one hand, like things that happen among the board is board business, but I guess if it's just interpersonal problems, yeah, that's not. business.
I think interpersonal problems is, I think there's a difference between saying Christine, fix your face nicely and saying Christine, you always have a scowl on your face. You never and taking that up in a meeting, you know what I mean? And so giving somebody a nudge and be like, smile a little bit might be just fine. But otherwise have it that phone call of for the last 3 meetings, you really seem disinterested or you don't want to be there and having that conversation away from the board table. That was the thought in that one.
I guess I just never even considered that sort of thing would happen. When I was looking at this, I don't give up, so criticizing the way you're holding your mouth. I mean, I'm looking at it.
We can scratch it completely too. I don't care.
I'm interpreting that as you're just asking, people are gonna disagree, and that's
Mhm.
okay. But being respectful in the way we disagree, is that what the message is from that statement?
I believe so. But also if we need clarity, maybe this isn't the table to do it at to get that clarity. To handle that, what is it? Your vote is your voice sometimes.
I don't really love the whole line, but not because I don't agree with it, just because I think it's another one of those we should all be. I mean, it says model clear and unbiased communication while also expecting it from fellow board members. I mean, when we read our board, whatever, it's not this one, but your board, conduct, code of conduct, right? I mean, it just seems, again,
Redundant, maybe.
maybe, but it's not necessarily bad. It's just yeah, we can always do better. I think, you know, the struggle in a public meeting is when an issue becomes emotional or there's conflict, it's very hard because we can't stop the meeting and have a sidebar. So what possibly, you can't necessarily write it in here, that the thing is, as a board collectively, we have to agree on a premise of always having respect and and showing that respect to each other and the community. And I don't want to say like there's a code word, right? Like you get with your spouse or boy, you know, like, oh, butterfly, like I'm getting overwhelmed. You know, my wife is butterfly, sorry. But
Call for recess, like, can we get a recess?
right, I think like there's maybe a modality here is if you as the board chair or the vice chair, who's ever running the meeting is like, you know what, we're gonna take a 10-minute recess for a bathroom break. It allows for that de-escalation. Like maybe you take a drive when you're heated with your partner or your child. Maybe you go for a walk down the pasture for a long time. So I think like I would never be opposed to you, like as the board chair saying, you know what, let's all take a recess for 10 minutes and collect our thoughts and start fresh when we come back.
I think that's exactly what we were trying to
Right. No, and
say
I think you
here.
are. And I think underlying this principle is the fact that we all could fall victim to a moment of weakness, like I have. And sometimes you just need that space, right, to clear your head because when your heart rate goes up, you start to lose control. Whether it's facial expressions or words, right? It's
Absolutely.
We could just scratch the second sentence altogether and just take interpersonal problems off the table.
I would add model clear, respectful, and unbiased communication. So that I think respectful is probably more important than clear.
That's actually, this whole time I've been trying to figure out
Right.
where the word respect.
Because
going.
everyone wants to be respected, even if their viewpoint is against the other four members, right? We all want to be respected for our feelings and our viewpoint. So, and then you're right, you could probably just delete it. Or suggest like, you know,
Example,
yeah,
breaking to recess to collect, to de-escalate or
Yeah.
whatever.
and strive to, you know, work individually with you people you have conflict, right?
And clarity, just to clarify, anybody can ask for recess.
Okay,
Like,
Yeah.
just so that we're all on the same.
yeah, and I
page,
think
like,
that's even
anybody can
better,
ask for
right?
recess. No,
Because if it's the board chair that's heated, she may not want to recess.
you might need one. Okay, so clear, respectful, and unbiased communication. And then scratching that second sentence.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm just gonna just say that the first modification is the board is kept apprised of district operations through email updates and phone calls or text messages for emergencies. And then under expectations of the school board, number 14 is,
Gonna cause a renumbering.
yeah,
all of
well,
them.
yeah. That these suggestions will be considered for inclusion based on the vote of the board. And then we'll modify the modeling clear, what is right now number 17 to read model clear, respectful and unbiased communication. And Laura, I'm gonna put these, if the board votes on them, I'll just send you my notes so you can update them. All right.
and George, just so you know, point of order was not a familiar term for me the first time it happened, but they brought it up in the board Jeopardy at OSBA and it was kind of funny. Just so you know, the point of order is the way for people there speaking to us or people here speaking for her to call it back into order and slam the gavel. It's only happened a couple times. But don't let it shock you if you hear a point of order at some point. That's actually the legal way to say shut up. No, I'm sorry.
Stop it.
Okay. Here we get is there a motion for this one?
You remember that meeting, I do.
I moved to
My
approve
heart rate
our
was like-
recommended leadership operating. Order.
Perfect. Second.
Second.
All right. I think we've discussed it. Laura, can you do a roll call vote?
Yes.
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 Motion carries 5-0.
All right. And then 5D OSBA Board of Directors Region 10. Soren, can you take this one for us?
Yes, so at the conference this last weekend, I spoke to Clyde Rude, who used to be our board representative for the region.
Hmm.
I recall
I spoke with him as well, by the way. So
voting, it seemed like it was less than 2 years ago, but I think
It
it
was
must have been.
last year, I think that the
So
vote
why
took
in
place.
Lou,
Yeah.
White Bear.
White Bear.
White Bear.
Right. So we ended up having Ms. White Bear as our representative for this year. I'm still unclear why it was just a year ago. It's supposed to be every 2 years.
Because it was interim, someone resigned.
Oh.
And so they had they had to do it at an election for interim, like, anyway. Yeah.
Good. Anyway, so Mr. Root approached me and asked for a nomination. And I said, doesn't your local board, your own board nominate you? And he's like, the more nominations I get, the better. I'm not sure.
Every board is allowed to nominate.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he would like more, but I would like to give him the opportunity to at least run again.
I thought his board had to, I thought if you were running your board had to approve your nomination. Is that not the case?
Yeah, but I think so, but he's also said that the more nominations you have somehow.
So basically, if someone on this board isn't running for that position, we are allowed to put forward a nomination for someone for that position.
I got
If we had a board member choosing to run for that position as a board, we would most likely nominate our own board member. But it doesn't remove every school board from not being able to nominate. And clearly, I was informed I missed that meeting, and I did because I never voted. And it was actually, Racine, you recused yourself for some reason.
Yeah, because you weren't there, I was the deciding vote. We were the last board to vote. It was split. And I was the very last person to vote on this, so I feel.
We had like just had a baby or something. Soren reminded me of the whole thing.
It was awkward.
Feel very responsible for that.
I don't know why I would have recused myself.
I don't know, but I would have voted for him.
I
He,
think you were
Just
split.
split.
but it didn't really matter. You abstained, sorry.
Yes and no, abstained. and then it was
That's why
me,
I
and it was
abstained. I
like-
can share that later on.
And so I was like the very last person to vote on this, and I feel responsible, even though Mr. Root said that you're not responsible. I want to give him the opportunity to run again.
Every vote counts. Anyway,
So like, who I want to have in the position at the end, I do feel like he should have the opportunity to run.
So then we would, so if we voted tonight for this, then I think we just ask you to put our
There's-
vote in
there's
for
a-
this? Is there a
There's
form?
for a nomination for Clyde Reed.
Send in the nomination. So I would like to move to have the LC School Board nominate Clyde Rood for the position of OSBA Board of Directors, position 10.
You just be running for it.
Running
Right.
for, yeah, nominate as a candidate. So nominate as a candidate for,
So there's a motion,
I'll second the motion.
second, discussion?
I have some mixed feelings on that. Just, I don't know. We don't know who potentially other nominees would be. How do we?
Well, we're not nominating him as voting now
We're not
on the
voting.
person.
Just
We're just,
give it a run.
right.
Right.
No one else asked me to nominate them. I feel like that's an appropriate thing to do, and he did ask. Happy to. It's like signing a petition. I guess I'll let you put it on the ballot.
I will say, I don't think that OSBA was that well attended as much as it was 2 years ago when I was there in Salem. And he was like at every meeting at the regional, communicating with many, many people. I don't know him that well. I remember when he came, I don't know Lou at all. It doesn't matter. She has to run again anyway. So for me, it's, you know, it didn't even sound like you can't nominate more than one person because you're not voting for them to take office. You're just nominating them to run. Like, I think, but I actually got a text from Sammy today that I didn't get back to you. That's a whole nother conversation. It's part of why I called you, but, I don't know. I'm okay with nominating him to run because
Yeah,
I don't
we're-
think
we're
it,
not voting
right.
for him to be on.
And the election isn't till when,
Spring?
right? Yeah, I didn't even know it was this urgent, but anyway, whatever. We can always talk about the next meeting as well.
I think I just want to state for the record that doesn't show any favoritism for any potential other candidates, in my opinion.
Sure.
So my hesitation, but I
There
don't
you go.
want to show any
Yeah.
favoritism because everybody has the right to run.
Yeah, it was my whole thing. Is I want to give him the opportunity to. run.
We could always reach out to Vince and ask more thoroughly about the process. I'm not that familiar with
I don't,
it.
I don't know if anyone
at
at the table
I
is.
also have had wonderful conversations with him. I just am hesitant because I don't want to show any, bias or favoritism in any way, shape or form. So that's my concern.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, if the election is not until a ways out, I don't know when the nominations are due by. I didn't get that either, so.
September, the end of September.
Oh, really? That early?
So
Oh, wow.
we could take it up next month. If you wanted to think about this.
I'm good with it. I seconded it. I could vote yes, but I also want to respect Jamie's opinion and, it's a new business added to the agenda. No one's really had time to do any homework on this, so maybe postponing it till the next meeting is just good for the board.
That, or I also have my vote.
Yeah, you have your
So,
vote as
but
well. Yeah,
I'm
it doesn't have to
comfortable.
be. So however you want to proceed, we can take a vote and see, I guess, unless, well, I mean, whatever. Talk.
No, I've never had to ask Vince that question before. But we've done nominees for our own boards without that being any issue, so
Yeah,
yeah, I'm not.
I mean, didn't we nominate you for the small role board, but it didn't say we had to vote for you. We
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
nominated you to run.
no
I don't even know
feeling.
how it worked.
I need to be completely-
I thought you
No,
did.
No,
No.
no.
I thought you asked at a meeting to be nominated to run for the small role
I
district.
I
Oh,
didn't.
I didn't know
So,
that.
yeah, same situation.
It's not high.
Boom. Wow, I was misinformed.
Okay, Laura, we'll go ahead and do a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
that's so funny. Are you on the small role board
No, I
caucus?
gave that up in January.
Uh,
All right, okay, first reading, so both first reading of policies, for GBC staff ethics and then GBC AR staff ethics. Stacy, will you introduce these ones?
Mhm.
Because there's some pretty
Yeah. they're-
important information.
Yes. Yeah, for both policy GBC and then also for the electronics.
Oh,
JLC.
yes, thank you.
I have kind of summaries for both. So we'll start with first read for policy GBC staff ethics policy update with proposed additions stating employee use of district sponsored licensure or certification. The proposed policy revision adds explicit language clarifying whether employees may use district sponsored licensure or certification outside of their contracted duties for personal financial gain. This clarification ensures that all staff understand the boundaries of professional ethics, prevents potential conflicts of interest, and protects the district's integrity. Previously, the district failed to have this clear language in policy, which created space for concern through ambiguity and interpretation by administrators, board members, staff, and community members. So this update is about clarity. The proposed addition is not creating new restrictions. It's simply making explicit what is already required or authorized by Oregon ethics law. And the clarity protects employees as much as it does protect the district. Without it, staff could use unknowingly violate state law, and the district could unknowingly place itself in at risk and its employees at risk. It's supposed to be proactive versus reactive. So this addition is intended to prevent future misunderstandings. By setting clear expectations, we would reduce the likelihood of costly investigations or damage to the district's reputation. We validated the language with experts. Over the past month, been in contact with Oregon Government Ethics Commission, OSBA's legal team, and OSBA's policy development director. All reviewed the language and confirmed that it is both ethically and legally sound. It is aligned with state law and best practices across Oregon school districts who use this current best practice. It does also protects the taxpayer investment. So district sponsored licensure and certification is funded by public dollars. The public expects those investments to benefit our students first and foremost. The new policy language ensures those resources are not used in ways that could create a perception of personal gain over public service. It also preserves fairness amongst the staff. So this policy proposal would ensure that consistent treatment is handled for all employees. And it actually supports the staff confidence as well as community confidence because it's clear and explicit. Employees and all stakeholders often want to know exactly what is and what is not allowed. This language eliminates guesswork and protects against unintentional violations. In the name of transparency, clearly stating whether such use is authorized or unauthorized removes that ambiguity and supports consistent enforcement. In discussion with the Ethics Commission and OSBA, it was reiterated that having a clear and concise policy allowing employees to use a district-sponsored license or certification outside of their district contract is ethically sound, but it must be explicitly stated in the district policy. So that one red line addition is what the legal counsel came up with at the proposal. And that's kind of the backstory on why.
And this ties to the email that you had sent out to us also,
It is
correct?
on July 21st.
And then I'm just bunching these together in
Yep.
my mind, but I'm not seeing any modifications in the AR.
There is not,
Okay.
but there can be, because that is
How
where
would it-
additional documents could be coming in, if it was maybe a declaration of conflict of interest, something, because you can have a conflict of interest and it can be ethically sound because it matches your contract and it matches your policy, but it's also good practice to state that there might be a conflict of interest. And that's something I haven't seen an actual document, but I know that the lawyers could draw. Might be a good AR component.
So the modification for first reading right now is for GBCT one is the paragraph in red. Are there any questions on that?
No, but I did bring up that it's, even if something is allowed and it's written in policy that's allowed, it could still be legally a conflict of interest. And that's often okay to do things, even if there's a conflict of interest, as long as it is stated clearly. So my concept was adding a little bit to maybe the AR or maybe the policy just as guidance, not like telling people to do it, but say, you know, in this case, consider whether you may need to sign a declaration of conflict of interest. Because there are cases where there are conflicts of interest and it's okay to have the conflict of interest, but you do have to declare it.
I
But
could
I-
see that in the procedure, because I think, and rather than the policy, what do you think?
I agree, it would be a procedural, a process.
I had some other questions about other parts that weren't modified. I guess I hadn't looked at this.
I had
policy.
let me just, can I just stick to this paragraph real quick? So what is, I don't know what it costs to get a CDL at all. But what is the employee's responsibility, commitment to the job and time when we do that for them?
Great, and that would be like a contract.
I mean,
If there was like, and I think all districts do it differently, that
Mhm.
sometimes there's a guarantee, if we invest in this, you must work for us for 5 years or for, you know, whatever
Mhm.
that time frame. So I would think that piece would be in the employment contract, because that might be different for an administrator versus someone. Yeah,
And
versus
any
a type 20.
Incentives.
and then do we renew their license when it needs to be renewed? Is that like, do we continue down this train of?
Those, again, I think those are gonna be the employment contract piece, and the policy is just what I got from the different agencies that I worked with. That having that in place for your policy and then having those specific contracts drawn up together, protect the district and the employee. I think it would be wise to have those in the contracts, for sure. Otherwise, you just pay for everyone's license or certificate and we'll move on.
And to that point, we've seen that happen in the past with, you know, previous administration that's not here any longer, years ago, that there
Mhm.
was a lot of payment and reimbursement for lots of different things and then not a lot of fruition for that. So it's a good.
Well, and it's even like continuing education. If you're going to invest in your staff and you spend it, let's say $10,000 on a trip somewhere with hotels and the cost of the course and everything, and they come back and quit 3 months later, is there a way to recuperate that money? You know,
Right.
because sometimes I feel because we're such a small school, we have higher attrition than others. It's a stepping stone, even sometimes in higher levels. I'm always overly cautious about spending money on things that are not directly educating our kids, but maybe benefiting the school still, and trapping us into where we had 2 bus drivers available in the last year. And we had to cancel school because we didn't have a bus driver, right? And I'm thinking in my mind, like, that's a heavy ball to drop, right? For whatever reason, you know, and to be in that position as remote as we are. So I just am contemplating that performance-based, you know,
Unfortunately,
education.
that's Operation.
Oh, yeah, but I asked, right? I'm not
Help
asking
us
to make the
every question.
decision. I just,
This serves at networks. Ask what other districts do. Get some samples and.
I mean,
You know.
there was a family here a ways back that got CDL'd here and left and never, I don't think, ever drove a bus for the school. It was under prior administration, a couple back. I know just because I heard the stories, right? Validated stories. So, I mean, yeah, I just don't want the school to be spending money to fill an immediate need.
Right.
And then that person has only an objective of being able to buy their own bus and drive it. Right? I mean,
Understood.
right.
No, it's fair.
Anyway, not that it's,
Nope, those are good, talking points and thinking points.
anyways, this is a first read, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all.
And I think I would say, then I was sorry, you had a couple other points. I would think those are great questions
Mhm.
also, and I'm not sure where Stacy, well, like what the employment contract, how that language is put in, but I think those are additional conversations and questions like throughout a little bit before we go into next month.
Yeah, because we were informed that when we approved the budget, we approved these contracts, and if we're not reading the contracts as a board, it is obligating us to approve something we're unaware of. And that is, it can be challenging in certain situations. So,
We're approving the expense, we're not approving.
well,
the-
but some are considered service contracts by legislature, by the nature of what they are. Some are considered service contracts. When we, yes, we can talk about it later, but
Yeah, and these, I guess, this would be for employment contracts. And that would be fair to write in those restrictions or those. Parameters. Mhm. And Pace would be great to reach out to on
mhm.
how that looks,
Yeah, 'cause
where
I've
the
been-
language.
I've been at places where I've worked where they will reimburse you for X, but we'll reimburse you a year after you get it.
Mhm. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that.
Or you can reimburse it over a year or whatever. But anyways, nonetheless,
Soren, you had some additional questions on
There's
this one?
a typo on the second page. There's an extra R hanging out in there.
In the
Oh,
red
there is,
section or
first
in a-
page.
There's a short
first
little
sentence.
page where there's only one.
Any employee will not perform any duties related
Oh, in
to
the
an
original.
outside job
Yeah,
during.
just a
Okay.
R.
Right.
And then, when is the last time this whole policy was read through completely? Because there's some things that are, look ripe for exploitation in there.
Well, it would be in the top, definitely before my time.
2016 adopted revised in 2023.
I'm just wondering if some of this,
February.
these laws, guys, they don't change very fast.
There was a massive,
We did
when
a
you were in your
massive
interim, there was a massive
Yeah.
policy
Policy
update.
And there's one coming next week. Sorry.
Oh, great. Well, that's
Right.
every year.
yeah.
But I think we could,
Alright.
we could ask Pace if we're gonna reach out about that, if you're gonna reach out about the contract piece of
Yeah,
it, then we ask
absolutely.
about that, and then,
You want me to tell you the specifics I'm looking at?
Sure.
Or you can email them.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, that would
How
actually.
about
be
that?
great.
alright.
That'd be great.
and then formatting wise, can we not have a page break between 2 and 3 so that 5 and 6 are on the same page? Sorry.
Where is it?
You just got to delete a couple times and I'm sure it'll pop right in.
Page 2 has has number 5, and then there's nothing else on page 2, and then it goes 6.
That's weird, because that's not how it's set up. On
Uh,
my end.
It's probably like a,
Okay, well, maybe it's
I'll
me,
make sure.
it's a me thing,
no, it's on all of ours that way.
It,
Anyway.
if it's online that way.
maybe so.
It might be because it went from a PDF to a Word.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
might be.
that's what I was going to say. It's probably just registering one enter.
Anything else on GBC D1?
Mm-mm.
Anything for GBC RD1, which is the AR? I think we gave the,
Yeah.
conflict of interest declaration, right?
Yeah, I have a couple of things on the AR, but again, they could be handled separately.
Okay.
So things that seem old.
And it could be, that was one of the things we talked about in the conference. was
But this one says
policies are-
2023, which is the one where I was there, but we were also doing like 100 policies at a time, and it was difficult
Yeah.
to really read through them all as carefully as.
It was difficult not to get cross-eyed, yeah. Okay, so then those are two will come back for second reads. Am I cutting anybody off? Sorry. Okay, and then, Stacey, you wanna go through JFCEB and the AR for that?
Yes, and a little history on this one as well. I just learned on Saturday that the new proposed one will be out this week. My idea of bringing one this early, I know we don't have to have one adopted until October. But I wanted to start the year fresh, and I wanted our handbook to be supported by whatever our policy said. So this was the current policy in place. I thought we could at least adjust the language here to back what the student handbook and what the executive order is going to say. I feel like it's much easier to start the school year strong and consistent than shifting midway. So with that, I did try to take in some of the feedback about how we are going to enforce this bell to bell situation. Basically, just adding in that language that there will not be cell phones in the classroom from bell to bell. They need to be secured and stored. That can be a locker. And almost like a tiered system of support. Tier 1, if you can keep it in your locker and you can obey this rule, basically, then there's no problems. If you're going to bring it to class, you don't trust that it can be in your locker for whatever reason, then every classroom is going to have a storage device that locks, that is secure. There's no damage that's going to be done, and you can check it out when you leave at lunch if you're in high school, because you can leave campus, or you check it out at the end of the day. Every classroom will have those. I want to follow the executive order for the benefit of students and their education. I want to make sure they're free of distractions, but at the same time, I don't want to micromanage this. And so I'm trying to be as creative as possible, keep this as general as possible so that the kids do have the right, if they can manage it, which is a life skill. I mean, as adults, we have to manage our cell phones and our personal electronic devices. If we can teach that and teach it respectfully and responsibly, then I think we're doing our job in a much broader sense than just cell phones in the classroom. Are there going to be some students in situations where we may even have to lock it in the office one because they just can't, and we have the family meeting and we go through all the steps? That could happen. That might be one case. I'm going to handle that one case differently than making everyone check it into an office. I think that would be catastrophic for the office and for the students. So I wanted to have a basic policy in place that backed up what moving forward for the school year.
The only concern is in the executive order, remembering back, they're not supposed to be able to use it during passing time or lunchtime or so. For example, if we have open campus lunch,
They can check it out at lunch.
in the EO,
Um,
I mean, I'm asking
Yeah.
because I'm asking. I didn't remember. I just remember the language of the EO is basically bell to bell,
it's built
no
up.
access to social media, phone,
Correct.
whatever,
I
right?
asked in roundtables on
Mhm.
Saturday, said, what about high school students who have access to leave campus? Can they get their cell phone? And she said, yes.
Okay.
She said, that's actually in there and you guys can come up with your system, however that works. It's still pretty loose at this point.
Yeah, I didn't spend a lot of time on it because it is pretty loose. And like when I talked to the guy that is the Corvallis School District Superintendent, he said, we're not taking anybody's phones, right? Like they're gonna have to secure them. We're not gonna put them in a lockbox or a stored location. Cause I was talking about the liability. Obviously with 2,000 or 1,200 students, whatever they have, right? It's a much different widget than 168.
Right.
Um,
And my personal, put them away.
right.
I don't want, not when I find out.
Just don't want it.
Just don't want it in the classroom.
Right.
Learn in the classroom.
Yeah. Hopefully the teachers follow suit.
And they're gonna have to, yep, exactly. That'll be,
Oh, no, on that one.
um, Yes.
Lead by example.
Well,
Yes.
so can we just, cause I just wanna jump into the
Mhm.
procedure really quick,
Yes.
because to rest your point, the procedure does state that the district shall not be responsible for loss, theft, or damage to the personal. So that tells me that if you're gonna let your kid bring the phone to school and it gets damaged, then that's their property. But, the next one says students with an IEP can use this, which follows the executive order, or if permission is received from the student's teacher. Does that need to be removed out of that procedure? So that's number
That
4.
that would fall under the IE.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, or maybe 504, but most likely not.
yeah.
Mhm.
But
Mm.
yeah, so
Yes.
that's
Time
number
to stand
4 in
up
the
again.
procedure.
Is that yours too?
But did we just get told to stand
Time
up?
to stand.
Yeah, it's twice now in this meeting.
I have concern about talking about the punishment part. There's some
With
part where it
discipline.
says like punishment, where they talk about suspension and expulsion of.
Can't take away instructional time.
Yeah, you're not allowed to take away instructional.
You can't, however, if you are at third parent meeting, you've gone through multiple steps, it's no longer about a cell phone, it's defiance. And then you're working on that code of conduct violation,
Mhm.
if you're at that extreme.
That's just it's just the avenue that you've gotten through the defiance, or through to that is the cell phone.
Right, because you're doing restorative practices, you're doing meetings, you're talking about the reason behind it, and you're coming up with other plans to keep it safe during the school day. Almost like a tiered intervention. And if you reach fifth step, probably looking at an element of defiance and not cell phone.
The executive order does state this policy may exclude time when students are not on school grounds and are not under the supervision of school personnel other than school bus driver. So that covers.
Mm, thank you.
Really dumb question then.
That's
No.
in PERGA.
What does that do for field trips?
Yeah, so that was in there.
Okay. That's been a
Technically,
conversation.
field trips would be off limits still.
Okay.
Even sporting events could be, but that's gonna be a whole nother can of worms that we have to look at.
But are sporting events part of the executive order yet?
It's not.
Well, that's not bell to bell.
I know,
Well,
it's not bell to bell, no.
Not-
Extracurricular.
It's extracurricular, it's under.
Well, it's not educational time.
Right, and it's school sponsored, but it's not instruction.
Yeah, if they can't reimburse us for the bus ride.
Yeah.
then tell us what the kids can do with
There
their
you
cell
go.
But when you're,
And I know that that's gonna be after bell, and parents are not gonna say that their kids can't have access to a phone. Of course, their kids are gonna have access to a phone when they go to McKinsey and they're getting home at 11 o'clock at night. I'm not
but
taking
when
that
we're
away.
using district funds.
It's the only way we can know where they're at.
Exactly.
I mean,
for educational.
to pick 'em up.
University, that is educational. Time.
We were able to use the bus driver funds in that
Ugh.
way, you're right.
And
But it's not.
Not
bell
wanting to
bell.
borrow trouble, but
I
it
don't
is.
to
an
either, but I don't wanna get us in trouble by.
educational-
Well, I know that drive, and it would definitely go beyond bell to bell.
Yeah.
So I think we're good.
Maybe those are things with the new
But-
policy that they're coming out with too.
I'm excited to see what they come up with. They've been working on them. We'll have them this week.
Okay.
This actually might be a little, sorry, I just wanted it prepared. And then on Saturday, we found out they're coming out with the sample policy. So if you guys want, we can also, I mean, it's a first read, so we can hold off and I can bring another first read to the next.
I'd rather amend and start supported like you are designing.
mm,
You know, the guy from OSBA said on Sunday, he was still waiting to hear from the governor's office before he finalized it.
Okay, so it's not.
It may or may not be done today.
mm.
Any other thoughts on those 4? Follow up with Stacy if you have them.
Yeah, please.
Okay, let's move into second reading. This includes sexual harassment update, responsible use of technology, and then the AR for the responsible use of technology. We can hear a motion for all. What, I missed?
Uh,
What's your internet name?
I will make a motion to approve GBN, JBA, G1, IIBG, and IIBGAR as written.
There's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Right. We can have discussion.
Okay, so
Yeah.
on IIBGAR, I mean, I was part of making this, but I just saw something that's bothering me a little bit. As we learned when we were looking at our complaint procedures, a
Hmm.
written thing can be confusing to people. And it
Where's that?
says shared staff and administrator responsibilities where you have to submit a written request for something to be added to the digital resource menu. We want to say written because it has caused confusion in the past with other policies. Just say submit a request, but I don't want them to have to feel like they have to print something out and hand it to Nathan to get something added.
Well, since it's a procedure, I would wonder
Okay,
what I was just curious, what kind of tracking the school needs for something like that.
Sorry, I'm trying to it, it wasn't opening. What number are you on?
3-5. B and C is what I have noted here, but I'm not looking at it.
On the is this on the AR or
This is the AR.
I don't have a
I don't
3-5.
either.
Oh, you mean page 3-5?
Yeah, it's 3-5,
Number,
shared responsibilities.
oh, 6A,
Let me
Oh,
go
no.
back to my numbering. 'Cause
oversee,
I have 3-5.
I don't
B,
see it
comma,
there.
C.
Oh, submit a written request to the district technology director for approval.
Or B.
So you just wanted to say submit a request, not
That's
written?
what I'm thinking, because written has been caused confusion in the
Gotcha.
past sometimes,
So
because
that it could be an email or.
but
it
that could be up to you whether you would.
On
accept it.
emails
I
written.
think an
but-
email, I think it's the
submit a
documentation.
documented request?
Mhm. Because email is probably more accurate anyway.
Written
it's-
or email.
Written is email, right? You're just typing it,
Well,
and reading it.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Well,
say
yeah.
handwritten request, it just says a written request.
Work on the KL policy.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it could say a written / emailed request. I mean, do both words and then no one's confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Would you like to modify your motion with the amendment or no? Or scratch it off the table?
I can make it, I just gotta go back to read them all. So I'll make a motion to approve GBN, JBA, G1, IIBG, and IIBGAR with the amendment of submitting written or emailed request, otherwise as written.
Motion, is there a second to the amended motion?
Oh, okay.
All right. Anything further? Go ahead, Laura.
Yes.
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 Right, board comments.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say thank you to you, Soren and Russ, for making it to the OSBA conference and
Yes.
covering us and bringing back, and Stacy, for bringing back all the information for us to continue to talk through and go through that. It's a huge time commitment and, thank you for taking it on for us this year.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I was gonna comment about the conference, because I know last year when I went to the one in Salem, I was a little bit disappointed. That this would have been fine if I had just joined the board, but I was like, I seem like I know this stuff. This year, there was a lot of good information. It was geared toward new board members because it was an election year. But it was still like a lot of stuff that I had never been formally introduced to. So it was very valuable. And then we had that discussion in the regional roundtable about
Russ-led discussion, sorry.
about reimbursing for things and how costly it is. And you want to make sure you get value for the money you spend on things like that.
Yeah, I think we need to discuss a probably future agenda item in communicating with some of our local charter schools or rural schools about sharing. We took a deep dive with the superintendent of Corvallis schools in that room about sharing resources for foreign language, arts, theater, music, and the Philomath charter school. I don't know if you know. There's a small school, Philomath Academy.
It's their online.
Like said, they have a theater program that they would be willing to open up for our kids to come, and they could push it back a half hour at the end of the day so we could get there. There was a real, there was some dismay in the funding loss by these schools and cutting of resources. And when we discussed at length, quite long, we went over the opportunities of sharing business managers, not until we're ready to make a move, sharing HR, sharing counselors, but more so sharing resources for kids to have a richer culture of education, where some of the schools, me being namely the voice and probably saying it's almost like these bigger districts would like us to just go to the bigger district for these resources. But then Sammy said that they're looking at laying off, they're cutting their music program and arts programs, right? We're not alone. So what the discussion really became and morphed into is how can we communicate together as regional districts through boards, board chairs, or superintendents? But I think much of this might fall on board chairs, boards to look at opportunistic ways. And like they said, they could hire a full-time teacher and we can pay them share, right? Because a teacher can't be licensed in 2 schools or I don't know how that works, but they explained it. And still find a way for our kids to participate, whether that teacher comes to LC 1 day a week to teach Spanish or to whatever, however it works. But I think the interest was definitely there. I don't know how to explore that interest without discussing it as a board.
I think the larger schools are going to be getting creative in that space because as I've said all along, when we're talking about having $800,000 hit in our reserves, in a small district, we don't have any more fat to trim. We don't have any more programs to cut without it directly reflecting in our classrooms. Whereas those larger districts, they're going to cut their art, they're going to cut their music, they're going to cut their DECA, FBLA, all these extra things that they have that we can't even begin to think about offering. They're starting to see what we have been feeling as a smaller district forever.
Right, and the premise was
The whole,
How do we?
if you
Yes,
could not
now
cut
they're-
and share the burden,
they're feeling that, they're seeing that, and they're seeing that the effect that has on their students. So I'm looking forward to the opportunities. that
they're
that
gonna,
brings
I
to
mean,
the
they're gonna
table.
close the school. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
or 2, right? So.
So I guess the question I would have is, because I don't disagree.
Maybe
with
we
you,
just talk about it at our work session,
always think
like,
we bring do we say like, or like, I think everybody's invested in learning more about the partnership, but the
Sure.
partnership would kind of lay to you on what that kind of looked like.
and I think why I've been hesitant even to reach out a ton right now as you're getting going is I think it's gonna take you a little bit of time, the first quarter, to really identify what you feel could add value to the students and talk to these other administrators about what they feel in your superintendent conferences and stuff.
What if we just did an event? Like, what if we really just got our boards together to discuss some of these things as like a work session?
Right.
An
Mhm.
interdisciplinary or interdistrict work session led by OSBA community. You can still come to it. They can hear us talk. The work session is not off limits. Is that something I could take and reach out to events
think-
on and maybe take that off your plate for that first conversation at least?
I think so, and it could just be an event with board chair, vice chair, so there's not a quorum, right? It could always be something easier to manage than everyone's board having to have a quorum present and all the regulations with that. I don't know.
Well, work session, we wouldn't necessarily, we're not voting on anything.
You're not
right?
voting,
True.
but it can be virtual. We can record
would
it
be-
for minutes to be kind of put out and then
But
and it could be a forum or not. It could just be an open invitation and you could still post it as a meeting in the event a forum showed up.
And I think in my opinion, I'm not opposed to just 2 of us, but our whole point is like, you and I think very
Right.
different than
Sure.
others at our table. I want to hear your input. I want to hear what you think those relationships are. I want to hear what George thinks those relationships should be like. So if we have a work session and we can all communicate with those other people and get their perspectives from a larger community base, I think it would be beneficial for us all to hear and not just us relay back.
Sure.
So a work session, I think, would be amazing.
Start with an outreach to OSBA, see what we can do in that space and present it back next month.
I mean, the definite need or the desire is there, with our local small districts, right?
Well, and we could,
Even in, where was that lady from? They're a bit bigger than us, the one that sat ahead of me. No, she was Philomath, I thought. But there was another lady that was in a little bit larger district, like, well, we would like to offer to share resources as well, right? So, but it is all, even like here, the past president of OSBA was like, yeah, there's definitely a way you have to look at this to make it, the licenses under a school, and you are just,
And how that
right,
funding breakdown.
right,
Yeah,
right.
Conferences, especially at small schools, all having these ideas, of how to make it work. How do we change, like, education needs to shift.
Mhm.
We are still in the old traditional model, and there are talks of how do we completely revamp the entire schedule so that we are teaming up. But one day we're going to this
Mhm.
location.
Yeah, it
and
was-
they have the industrial arts, and this place has
Right.
culinary arts, and how do we? It's massive, and we're all spinning trying to keep up with the daily, and so these
And
conversations.
make all the reports work.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you are planning a year ahead.
Right.
And
This is
so
a year out,
it is,
right?
but it's a great idea, and a lot of administrators are talking about what can we do? How do we shift it to serve our kids in a different way?
Mhm.
Well, and I think we invite our superintendent, because I think you guys understand, you definitely understand legality, barriers, things like that to our ideas where you don't want to squash ideas, but like, hold on, that won't work because
Right.
legally, like, this has to go here. But then, people don't get excited about ideas that we just legally can't do or things like that too.
Right.
So hopefully we get a step ahead. So, but I'll run it by events. I've never heard of it happening. I've actually never seen it outside of a OSBA. So I'm
I
just
think it's
curious.
a great idea. I think we have to be really careful. Some districts might see boards getting together and saying, whoa, this is operational, you're not,
Oh,
you know what I mean? So I think that it would need just to be presented very
fair.
about.
Also, I don't know if you guys were told, but they're gonna not do the summer conference next year. They're gonna do these mini conferences, right? So probably be best.
We also have an opportunity to put a focus on community partnerships within our strategic plan,
Mhm.
whether it be local or other districts, that we can build that into that plan too. We should keep that in mind for that.
All right. Anything else? We kind of jumped around a little bit.
Yeah,
but-
sorry.
No, you're fine. Anything else for board comments? Anything else for additional agenda items for next month?
Oh, one question before we leave. Is there any risk that we have to start later than we are? Because I heard about the delays and I saw them working on the weekend and I was like, uh-oh. Just knowing what I know, but have you any percentage risk that we're,
We have a walk.
okay? Because they said they saw some things and I'm just curious if we're, okay. You don't know anything we don't know, okay.
I saw them out
Apparently
there
we can
too this
weekend.
weekend.
Yeah.
but,
You know, when they're working on the weekend, there's,
That's a lot more, guys.
yeah.
Okay, let's see, we got some key dates here. I think I'm gonna add one to it even. So August 12th is, 12th and 13th are in-person registrations, 12 to 5 PM on the 12th, and then 5 to 7 on the 13th. August 8th and 18th through 20th is staff in service. And August 21st is teacher workday. Welcome back to all of our teachers. August 19th is our sports parent, or fall sports parents night with photo or with
Team photo.
pictures. Stacey's rubbing off on me.
Um,
And then September 1st is Labor Day weekend. September 3rd is another teacher workday, and September 4th is our first day of school with a regular school board meeting on the 8th.
The in-person registration, is it in this building or is, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll
So
have
that-
signs.
Okay, with that, we are adjourned at 8:09 PM. Have a lovely
you.
evening.
I texted my Those- we're always-